In this video, I'll be sharing what I learned from my junk food rebellion phase when I was 12 years old and how it changed the way that I view my body to this day. You'll also walk away with practical ways that you can deal with your own setbacks and rebellious phases so that you can have a lifelong wellness journey rather than just starts and stops. I'm Karina, and welcome to my channel where we discuss practical tools to elevate our wellness from a mind, body, soul perspective. When I was growing up, my parents were very particular about what they fed me. I had asthma when I was 2 years old, and we were able to heal it through natural remedies. So since then, my parents were committed to holistic and natural wellness practices. And while looking back, I'm really grateful that I wasn't fed junk food growing up or given antibiotics that were going to disrupt my microbiome or traditional medications with all of their side effects. At the time, I was a little resentful that I was being deprived of this delicious, colorful looking, enticing junk food. And then I would go to my friend's house and they would be eating fruit roll ups and sodas. And sometimes I would get to have this stuff as well. And it was just pure freedom. Meanwhile, in my own home life, I would look forward to that one day a week when we would go to the health food store and I would get my indulgence of a carob rice pudding. That was my indulgence. And of course, then there were no Whole Foods. It was just these locally owned health food stores that would have organic produce and they would have these bulk food items like lentils. They smelled a particular way. If you grew up in the 90s, you know what I'm talking about if you ever visited a health food store during that time. So that was my experience. And then when I was 12 years old, my parents decided to loosen the reins. I guess they decided that it was time for me to make my own food choices. And this was also a pretty stressful time in my life as we had just moved to a new town. And I was an introvert, so I was finding it challenging to adjust to a new environment and make new friends. And this new town was also very different from the one we had lived in. It was more rural. The school curriculum was different, so there was a lot for me to adjust to. And to cope with the stress, I started to eat large amounts of junk food. All the stuff that had the artificial colors and flavors, the stuff that you couldn't even really call food. Those fruit roll-ups that I could eat sometimes with my friends, now I could eat them unhindered. Oreos, gummies, everything. And the first thing that I noticed as I started to eat more and more of these things is that I would have a perpetually runny nose. I would always have to carry a tissue with me. This was my first experience independently making food choices and seeing how my body would respond as a result. And I also noticed that I would have really low energy and I would be crying all the time. And part of this was due to the circumstantial stress that I mentioned, but also it was due to the stress I believe from my poor diet. And I didn't really pay attention to my body at the time. I was almost trying to hide it because I was in this low place. And I would wear these baggy sweatshirts, those sweatshirts from Aeropostale that were all the rage in the 2000s. And it just felt like I was a shell of myself for those 6 months that I was eating this way. And it only took 6 months for me to realize that I had had enough. I'd experienced what it was like to eat all of those foods that I'd craved for so long, and my body felt terrible as a result. So from then on, I decided that I was going to willingly eat the things that my parents had introduced me to, not because it was the right thing to do, but because it made my body feel good and because I wanted to. And I never looked back. So here are the 4 biggest things that I learned from this experience that you can use in your own life anytime you have a setback like this. Number 1 may sound surprising, but sometimes we just need to let those cravings play out. Sometimes we just need to give in to them so that we can see the effects that they have on our body and then find a more intrinsic motivation as a result. It's the same thing as learning a painful life lesson by choosing the less than ideal romantic partner or making a misaligned career choice, where we just have to go through the experience firsthand to gain clarity on what it is that we do want. It doesn't matter how many of your friends tell you shouldn't date that guy with all of these reasons that make sense. Sometimes you just have to go through it and experience the consequences. And it's the same thing with poor health choices. Sometimes we just need to go through it and experience it firsthand so that then we can choose a new path that is going to then stick for the long term. Number 2 is that the body rebounds surprisingly quickly. Certainly that was the case when I was 12 years old, but even when we're older, the body knows how to heal itself when it's given the right inputs. So it's never too late to start making healthier choices. And number 3 is that Through this experience, I learned that I needed to have healthier coping mechanisms to deal with emotional stressors. That move was one of the biggest disruptors in my early life. Certainly, I've had more challenging situations since then, but at the time, it was a big deal. And I learned how to open up about my feelings to friends and family and even a therapist, which made the experience a lot less heavy. And I also learned to turn to artistic expression and movement as a coping mechanism. I began to choreograph my own dances, which helped me to stay true to myself and to my passions as everything around me seemed to be changing. And number four was that it was my first experience developing body awareness, and it's a skill that I have cultivated and enhanced over time. And it's actually one of the things I'm most passionate about in the health and wellness space now. So at the time of my junk food eating phase, I was pretty numb to my body, hence all of those oversized sweaters. And then I woke up and realized the damage that I was doing to my body. And since then, I'm so in tune with how something makes my body feel, whether that's a food or an exercise or even an interpersonal interaction. So the next time that you have a setback or you make a decision that might not be the best for your body and you start feeling bad about it, remember these four things. Know that sometimes you just need to let these things play out so that you can strengthen your resolve to make healthier choices in the future. And when you do start to make those healthier choices, your body can recover pretty quickly. And also recognize that this is a valuable opportunity to develop healthier coping mechanisms in response to stressors, and that it's also a good opportunity to develop greater body awareness. And in this way, you can turn your setbacks into pure gold. If you found this video valuable, feel free to give it a like. If you'd like to learn about more ways to feel amazing in your mind and your body, then feel free to subscribe to this channel. Lots of love, and I'll talk to you soon.